Good morning and welcome back to sunny Milton Keynes, where it is currently very cloudy. Before I get into the main part of the video, which is of course my tournament vlog, we're back in Milton Keynes once again for the War Games Workshop regular event run by the Outriders MK bolt action tournament, but we'll talk about that in a few moments. I want to just quickly go over some kind of channel maintenance stuff. And given that, according to my metrics, the only people really watching my my tournament vlogs are my regular viewers anyway, I think that you're probably the people, anyone watching this video is going to be the kind of person who might care about channel updates, but you know, skip ahead if you really are uninterested. That's totally fine. So, channel updates basically revolve around, winter, yuck, but it's over. Over the course of winter, kind of November, December and into January, it's cold, it's wet, I kind of have less energy to do stuff, but also professionally, I won't talk about that too much, I have a lot of extra work to do in winter, and so having extra work and less energy to do the work means that everything else kind of drags and suffers, and that includes my videos. So over the course of winter I clear out all of those kind of half done, half edited videos, and then I end up running out of those and I end up scrambling, trying to find something to make a video on, and so over the course of winter my videos do tend to drop in quality, which is a shame. It's not something I can really get around other than being several months ahead on videos, which is not practical. Like, not even just kind of it's cold and dreary and I have less energy. There's also the kind of practical side of I only get sunlight on the weekend, which means I have a very limited amount of time where I can film certain things. There's certain things I need to film in daylight. And so I end up falling, just a project will sit waiting for me to be able to do some recording, particularly if I want to do recording in the midpoints of a project, not just at the end. That can make a project really drag out because I just have to leave it till the weekend, do the next bit, and then wait until the next weekend before I can do the next bit. But that also means there is a drop in viewers because my videos aren't as good, they're a little less interesting perhaps, and so the viewer count does kind of drop off. So for anyone watching the video, what can you do about it? Well, if you care, and I'm fully aware that most of you don't care, but if you care, share my videos out. Now that I'm picking up again, I'm going to have some more interesting kind of painting projects, crafting projects, various things like that. If you know groups that are interested in such things or people that are interested in such things, share the videos. That's kind of basically all I really would suggest in terms of kind of helping out the channel. That seems to be the one thing that actually helps. If I have a couple of people post a video somewhere, that gets me more views than anything else. The algorithm, like, if every one of you likes the video and posts a comment, that's cool. Would like that, but it doesn't actually kind of boost a video in any way, shape or form. Right, so let's push that stuff out of the way and talk about today. The specific setup and rules pack that we have are kind of interesting, and I realized that I could play a different game or a different version of the same game, because we are playing 1,000 points with I think it's 14 order dice limit, which is, I'm annoyed by order dice limits, but 14 at 1,000 points isn't too bad. But because it's 1,000 points, and second edition used to be 1,000 points, I dragged out my British models and I laid them all out. I was like, I can actually build in third edition platoon selectors a reinforced platoon from first edition, right? So what I've done is I've started with a rifle platoon and I've tacked on an armoured platoon, and my armoured platoon has one tank and one armoured car. Specifically, I'm bringing my British, so that is a Cromwell and a Daimler armoured car. And my rifle platoon, kind of limited on points, so I've got 2 full and 1 half rifle squads, and they've all got a light machine gun, the good old Brens, lovely things. I have a officer, light mortar, sniper and Piat team, so I've got loads of the small teams. They'll be good fun. And then just to spice things up, and because I have the models, I have my SAS squad led by Lieutenant Colonel Paddy Main himself, the limited edition model from a few years ago. Warlord Games released that. That's a really nice model, and he will be leading a small squad of SAS with a universal carrier. Unfortunately, I was low on points. That's why I've got the half rifle squad, and that's why my universal carrier just has the one light machine gun, so it's 2 shots per turn. Probably not going to do much by itself, but if it can deliver 5 angry inner city Brits with the Thompson submachine guns, they might do a little bit of damage. Not hoping too much, but they might do something at least. Now, my plan for how to use them is a little more kind of in the air at the moment, because I've never been very good with the Brits in terms of how the Brits play and how I play with the Brits. I've got a lot of static shooting. The gunline infantry with Bren's vehicles as well kind of have some mobility, and the only real kind of fast unit I have is the SAS on that universal carrier, which is still a tracked vehicle, so 918 movement. And so what I am somewhat planning to do is try and shift as fast as I can in the first turn, maybe the first 2 turns, get into some piece of cover, and then kind of have lines of fire, and hopefully overlapping lines of fire over open areas, if possible, and then bunker down, turtle mode, kind of aggressively move forward and then turtle in that forward position is kind of what I'm thinking. If I can use ambush orders to funnel my opponent, if I can stack fire orders from multiple units onto one enemy to force them into a rally or something like that, that's sort of how I'm thinking. The SAS and the vehicles might nip around and have some fun on a flank somewhere, but that does tend to rely on me being lucky and picking the right flank before the deployment has started. We all know what it's like when you're deploying by dice and your opponent puts something down and you're like, well, that ruins my plan. Where do I put this? But I should probably go inside and help set up the tables, because that is a thing that I tend to do here, turn up early and just kind of help set up.
Okay, game of the first. My Brits up against some Yanks in a training exercise, but let's look at the terrain first. Elephant in the room is the big river down the middle of the board, meaning tracked and foot units are going to be slow to pass from one flank to the other, and wheeled units have to take the bridge. I wanted at first to focus most of my force on the right side of the river, and unfortunately as I was deploying I quickly realised that would be an issue. There's really not much defensive terrain that I can move up into, and if I beans it into this wood line, which my opponent is going to easily manage to reach first, it's just going to end up into a close range scuffle that I'm not going to have the advantage in. The left would provide a far better staging position for me, with the ability to form up on a more rear tree line and provide that base of fire that my army should be good at. However, with my Cromwell right here, my opponent placed a Zuka team in front of me, and that really did hem me in more than I thought it would. Unfortunately, I had psyched myself out by thinking that I wasn't good with the Brits, and so I ended up not being good with the Brits by not really coming up with a proper plan, anything beyond this vague idea of get to some terrain and shoot at the enemy. My Daimler armoured car nipped up and hid behind a wall on the right table edge, but an enemy Hellcat decided to rout it. Might have to change the name of that one. The Big Mouse was named because it hunts big cats, and now a Hellcat has scared it away. My incoherent deployment led me to scrambling to meet up in the middle of the board to try to face the focused US rifle platoon with its overlapping fields of fire, and I was just on the back foot from word go, and I never really gained it back. My Piat gunner in the Unicarrier failed to make a shot, decided to flee, did manage to come back towards the end of the game, but missed again, good job. My veterans arrived in the wrong place at the wrong time and really didn't do very much either, and so the right flank fell apart, the centre of the board just crumbled, and the left flank just about held, with my Cromwell getting almost all the points that I managed to earn in this game, but it really wasn't enough to balance out the fallen units, so I came away with a loss. Starting my second game, we rolled off the table edge and rolled 5 each. And we rolled again and rolled 4 each. Re-rolled again, getting 4s again, and finally on the 4th attempt we got the choice for a table edge. And this was very important. This game had 5 objectives and 4 of them are in the same table quarter, and with me winning the table edge I could deploy right behind all of them. The terrain here is quite linear with a lot of low walls and sandbags, allowing for both sides to create a firing position over the open ground in the middle. And I felt like many of my units will be effective at this, so I just needed a way to push up with something to hold my opponent back. My opponent, however, had a similar idea and immediately set about moving up some stuff into the middle of the field. Their Satan tank went head-to-head against my Cromwell and missed. Good job. I took it out, and then my opponent's other Stuart Hull off in the distance with a light anti-tank gun took out my Cromwell. And the big mouse came along and had a shot back by the end of the game. But the right side of the board was oddly more important than it really should have been. There's only one objective over there in the distance, and my opponent easily took that. I wasn't going to even try. But with only a few of my models on this side of the board, I somehow managed to distract almost half of my opponent's forces, leading to a relatively easy fight in the middle. I did make one big mistake here. I had the chance to move an infantry squad up onto an objective, but I waited until too late. In the last turn, they have to move out of their terrain piece, which means they're moving slowly. If I'd have moved them the penultimate turn, I could have then used the last turn to run forwards onto that objective. But I did manage to collect enough of the other objectives to call this game quite nicely won. My last game was an oddly terrained board with some of the terrain kind of facing corner to corner. My opponent and I rather foolishly set up our objectives in line with these rather than opposed to it. And what this meant is my opponent was boxed in and I was boxed out. Neither of us really had the chance to press any advantage. I set my Daimler and Cromwell in defence of my objective with a Piat behind them, and all of my infantry spread out with crisscrossing lines of fire and everything on ambush. But the forward position of my universal carrier is really the only chance I have. I head forward under the cover of an artillery barrage, but instead of getting to the opponent's objective quickly and giving me a chance of winning this game, I failed a 1-pin order test and got stuck. By the time the Unicarrier got moving again, my opponent had reordered after the barrage and easily mobbed the lone vehicle and the transported minis. In the dying moments of the game, my opponent managed to crash forwards with their infantry to get towards my objective, but I counter-pushed and it led to a whole lot of nothing happening. With both objectives still standing, this whole thing is a draw, and there's really not much more to say about this game than that. Very little happened, and neither of us was able to get started with anything. And here's a good one for you keyboard strategists out there. What would you do on a table like this to push forwards? And that's actually from either player's perspective. Overall, with a win-loss draw, should have ended up in the middle, but I haven't earned very many points doing it, and so I came fairly low down in the rankings. And this goes to show that maybe I am not very good with playing as the Brits, so advice welcome. I'd like to get to at least midfield when playing with the British, but I did have fun, so it was certainly worth going. As per usual, I'll instruct you to go play games because they are fun to play, and I'll be back in a month with the next tournament. I'm ED-SKaR, always will be, and thank you very much for watching.